All right, let's give it a couple of minutes. Meeting notes. Chat. Main notes are in chat. If you can, please put in your name and your affiliation. All right, let's give it one more minute, and then we can get started. Okay, let's get started. Got a bit of a smaller group today, but that's good. Let's see. So today, welcome to GUAC meeting. First of all, community meeting. Meetings being recorded. Will be uploaded later on. Just FYI. Usual open source code of conduct rules apply. So I think we have a special guest presenter today. Nathan, who's gonna show us some of the vocal scorecards certified that he's doing. But first, we're gonna do let's kind of go around introductions for new members. We're gonna give a few small project updates. And then we'll jump right into the demo. Cool. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh yeah, I was going to introduce myself. Hi everyone that I don't know. I'm Jeff Mendoza. Recently joined Kusari. I'm working on GUAC now. Nice to meet you all.
Awesome. Hey, Jeff. Cool. Okay, Nathan.
Hi, my name's Nathan. I'm a new GUAC member as well. I've started working on GUAC and OpenSF criticality score. I love to algorithms and solved a bit under 1,000 late code so far. So that's a bit about me.
Very cool. Welcome. And congrats on your open source summit talk. Hopefully we see you there. Cool. I think that's all we had with new folks. So let's get started quickly with updates. We've been kind of churning on the GraphQL stuff. There's a lot of lifting being done there. We are going towards the end of it. Again, sorry for the inconvenience for those that want to contribute and kind of get going with this, but it's a lot of breaking changes. So hold up for a couple more weeks. We should get that soon. We made a decision to kind of, so with the transition from initially where we're just like writing things right into the graph database, we're transitioning into a GraphQL interface, and so that kind of abstracts away like the backend. Initially, because we were using Neo4j initially, we started with Neo4j and the in-memory data store. We realized that there was quite a bit of work doing this for both of them, and there was quite a bit of challenges that we were facing with Neo4j because one, we're not experts in it. And so we weren't super familiar. That was kind of dragging a little bit. So we made a decision to just focus on the in-memory one for now, and then use that also twofold. One of it is it's easier to deploy. You don't have to deploy Neo4j. And second of all, in the future when we have to scale this, this will act as kind of like a conformance checker for the GraphQL implementations. Yeah, so that stuff is going on. There's currently rework being done by Mihai, Pav, and Jeff to kind of optimize that a little bit more, make it easier to query. But that's underway. We have a couple pieces of work going on. Michael has started working on the graph visualizer, which is, if you see, it's right now the POCs in our repo. We would love it if there were some folks that were great JavaScript developers, because most of us are not.
Yeah, as well as folks who know CSS and UX, UI, that sort of thing. My TypeScript isn't the best. My React knowledge is not the best either.
Yeah. We gotta find those unicorns and have that and work in security. Cool. Yeah, I just want to highlight a few good first issues. We have a couple. This one, identifier strings. Basically, the idea that is, let me share my screen. We have this system called the collector subscriber, and the idea behind this is basically Jack, do you have something?
You just literally did exactly what I was going to ask to do, but I might ask you to punch up the size a bit more, because my experience with Google Meet video recordings is that it compresses text down to coffee grinds. So you have to be cartoonishly large for it to come through.
Okay, I think this should be good. Cool, awesome. So one of the things we showed off, I think for like a meeting or 2 meetings ago, was this thing called a collect subscriber. The idea is like you pass in an SBOM or salsa document or any kind of document, and it has strings in it. Those strings may point to like other things or reference like URLs, maybe reference other packages. And so the idea on these identifier strings is that basically the parsers emit saying that like, oh look, there's the string, maybe something interesting inside. Let's feed it down to the data source, and then collectors will get more information. So the idea here is, for example, for salsa, the demo we did was like salsa attestation had a reference to GitHub repo, then it would be added to the collector subscription, and the Git collector would then get additional information, or the scorecards collector, also the file, which Nathan is going to show, would be able to do that. So this particular issue is on basically there is a heuristic. So we just pass in a bunch of strings. There is some code there that is like, yeah, this looks like a Git URI or ECS URI. This looks like a pull, and this issue is basically let's implement the guesser to say that it's a string of poll, and if it is, let's add it to the collect substrate friend queue. And the next issue that we have is kind of the same thing, except for GitHub releases. So if it somehow looks like a GitHub release, we'll add it into the collect subscriber queue as well. Cool. So that's project updates, and I think maybe we can skip to the demo, and after that we should have some time to just like have open agenda. We can talk a little bit about some of the open issues or some of the interesting problems that were brought up. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think let's get to the demo first. Nathan, do you wanna grab the screen share?
Sure. Let me just screen share. Okay, so I have a markdown over here. I'm just gonna add that into the chat. So basically what this demo is like presenting is, so like today I would like to demo the new scorecard feature, and I'm gonna quickly explain what it does. Basically, the scorecard certifier gets the Git SHA along with the repository from GUAC, and then runs scorecard on that particular repository. On that particular repository and the SHA. So the result is then added back into the GUAC graph, and that's how it's used. Okay. Also, before the demo, I'm going to say a quick like thing about our design choices. So while designing this, we contemplate using the scorecard binary, using the scorecard API, or using the scorecard as a library. We end up using the library approach because we didn't want to store the binaries. The API might not have had the results for the particular SHA, so we went with the scorecard library. And so we also made scorecard an interface so we can mock and test it. We have some end-to-end tests that actually run the scorecard for a particular repository, and we also have some unit tests. I guess onto the demo. So I've got it right here. First, well, actually the PR is right here. If you guys want to take a look at it, I've added it onto the demo. So first we can set up Docker. After that, we can ingest the data. The GUAC has some pretty good instructions on ingesting data, and pretty sure I have it up here. Yeah, right here, ingesting the data. Just pretty much call this. After that, we can search for GUAC for repos that start with get plus to make sure that, because we don't want to run scorecard on every single repo. For this demo, I am going to be removing all extra nodes except a certain node, 1502, because it's just going to be easier to explain for this demo. 1502 right now I'm just using as Kubernetes, and so I'm just deleting every node except 1502 using a cipher query. After that, we can replace the commit SHA, because scorecard uses specific commit SHA to git clone and run scorecard checks. Note that only some checks are using the commit SHA, others are using the GitHub API settings. So after that, we can get authentication for the GitHub API. We have an environment variable called GitHub auth token. Set that because the GitHub API needs your GitHub token, and scorecard needs that. After that, we can call scorecard. I have this. So currently, I'm just going to call it for that one file, 1502.
Nathan, do you mind bumping the text a
Sure.
few times?
On which, the terminal or the? Oh, sorry.
On the terminal, please. Yeah.
There you go. Does anyone know how to do it on Mac?
I think it's Command plus.
Yep.
Command
Yeah.
plus, yeah.
Command plus. Oh, that's not working for me. Yeah, it's not.
Uh,
Oh, maybe here. There we go. Is that good?
yeah.
Okay. So here, let's just do this. There we go. So we're just going to be calling it from GUAC 1. The address is the one which is given from Docker, password, and the username. If we run it, this usually takes a minute or two, but here, I'll come back after it's run. But you get the result, and after that, you can run a check using a Cypher query, check whether the scorecard actually ran. And let's see, should run. Well, either ways, after it's run, after it runs, I got a screenshot of pretty much what it looks like afterwards. You've got the metadata, which I've got in orange, going to the node itself, which is our artifact, our repo. And there we go, it's run. Ran. So I got the Cypher query to check whether the scorecard ran. And over here, I'm just gonna check that out. Got it over here. We got that one metadata going to our repo 1502. So we can see our artifact 1502 has the metadata 1506, and it has all scorecard data. So like, let's see, CI tester 10, that's great. I don't know. Score 8.4, pretty good, and you can see such. Actually, one more thing. Currently, there's a bug on the main branch that should be fixed soon. I have the issue here, but until then, I have a separate branch that you can use to run the GUAC scorecard certifier. That's it, I think. Anything else? Any questions? Thank you. Let me stop sharing.
Super cool demo. Yeah. Hamon, go ahead.
No, sorry, I pressed it by mistake.
Okay. Okay. Tim. Oh, what?
Misclick. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, cool demo though. Very good job.
Yeah, that's super awesome. Yeah, and I think like this is super cool. This is kind of like the first example of like how you can take like ingest something and then GUAC automatically goes to augment the information, and then hopefully we can do this with depth of depth as well.
I think one of the things we want to add is keeping it up to date also. So for example, like after a certain threshold, if let's say this scorecard might be out of date, or you do want to go check to see if there's an update, right? We can automatically go do that also. So again, keeping all the information up to date as as many times as you want to. Yeah.
Cool. Any questions, comments for Nathan? Awesome. If not, thank you so much. Hope to close up that issue soon with the bug. Yeah. Awesome. I noticed a couple folks join. If you're new and wanna introduce yourself, please take the mic.
Hey, this is Rajesh here. I am from Palo Alto Networks. Just joined to see the demo. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, we, as we said before, a lot of the stuff we've been working on currently can't really be demoable, or it's not a very cool demo. So likely the next community meeting will have some super cool demos. So if not, yeah, I like to, we can spend the rest of the time kind of, if folks have particular things to talk about, we can talk about that. With a couple of us have been having a chat with John and Kevin on some interesting problems as well. So if we want to talk about interesting problems, we can do that as well. So yeah, I guess we'll open the floor up for now. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's me. I'm sort of curious. Think watching this demo, and thank you, Nathan, for the demo. I was thinking about something I don't think I'd thought about before, which is the relationship between source documents, like a scorecard report, and what ontology we have. So I think with something like scorecard, the ontology would look very much like the scorecard because it sort of represents the things we're interested in. But then we get to stuff that's more abstract, like vulnerability, which can be reported or embedded in a number of ways. And I'm sort of curious how we see that distinction playing out. Like, would I need to sort of include that in the query, that I'm only interested in the derived facts, or that I want the source documents? Or I see Michael has a hand up, so maybe he knows.
Well, I can tell you what we like, what we would love to do, and then some certain practicalities might limit exactly how we might implement some of it. But the basic, like to start off with, right, we're not doing a ton of stuff with ontology from the perspective of like outside in. We're just kind of saying like, hey, we're pulling in stuff like scorecard, some of these other documents in, and then sort of having nodes and edges that are specific facts on a thing. Ideally, we have some way to sort of have an internal data model that represents all of supply chain security. That's probably not going to happen, but we might be able to get relatively close with a set of things. And when it comes to that, I think the idea would be, yeah, there's going to be certain things that are very clearly easy facts, like this depends on this. But even obviously, I also recognize that even something like a dependency is not always the simplest thing to model out, because is it a dependency that is included in the package? Is it a runtime dependency? Is it a build dependency? Is it just some other file that got touched as part of some other process, and so we're including it there? So some of that is going to naturally be a little fuzzy. And then over time, I think we also do plan to, we need to also allow folks to sort of provide their own set of facts as well on, like, here is how I believe this maps into the internal vulnerability, and I want to pull something completely outside of the normal scope of what we've defined as GUAC in there. So like everything else in this world, the answer is it depends. How we're gonna do this. Ideally, we want to kind of include as much as we can and make it simple, but there's some practical elements that might complicate that. Brendan.
Yeah, I think one of the approaches we've taken, so for example, if you look at like the SBOM stuff, right? I think right now we've included it in multiple granularities. So we have like, oh yeah, this package is dependency of this package based on passing the SBOM. But at the same time, we have also a predicate that says like, oh, this is the SBOM for this particular package. And I think like the hope is to kind of iterate on that. So I think both like what Michael said, where we'll have like ability to add facts on their own. Obviously, they won't be like first class citizens in the data model, but eventually, if we see enough use for them, then we'll incorporate them into the data model. Likewise, if we have these like multiple levels of granularity and we don't see some of them used before, then maybe we will talk about like deprecating them.
One thing I just wanted to add real quickly was one of the key things we're trying to make sure of, like a key goal for us is to make the runtime of GUAC flexible. So you don't have to like redeploy GUAC every time you have a minor change on how you're ingesting some fact or whatever. If it doesn't match exactly the internal data model, we want to have a way that you can map into that quite easily at runtime, because we know that one of the things that has happened in the past with various other databases is that it's a killer if you're like, okay, great, I have this minor thing I want to change, and it doesn't really change the semantics in any major way, but because I have to make that change, I need to completely recompile my code, recompile something like GUAC, I need to have some sort of data migration scheme and yada yada. And so as much as we can avoid that as well, we'd love to.
Yeah, my experience is that what you might call the third level of databases existing in time is the database becomes aware of its own historical schemata so that you can recreate reports as they would have been at a point in time. And that's really hard. That's just really, really hard.
Yeah, I think it's you mentioned the vulnerability thing, and that's kind of what the John, Kevin, and us were talking about, where in Java I can do some wacky things with your dependency. So yeah, I created the issue to kind of encapsulate that. I called it the Snowflake package identifier problem, but open to changing the name. But yeah, basically, I think the idea here is that you can basically in Java you can replace dependencies, transitive dependencies within a tree, and doesn't in any way express that change in the top level dependency that's depending on it. So kind of like the semantics, so identity doesn't include transitive packages. So the change that Kevin, the John did upstream was to, in CycloneDX, was to kind of do a Mogo tree of everything that's below it. I think we discussed yesterday that we would have to do kind of something similar as well.
Yeah, Maven Bombs, you're bringing back memories, and for me, the realization of like, oh, that's why Spring Boot is such a big deal. They leveled all the dependencies for you. But that's another rant. I was going to ask something, but it slipped my memory. I'm sorry. No, gone forever.
Cool. Anything else, the John?
Yes, so maybe talking about demos, I was playing with the GraphQL API last week and created like a small Rust library that can talk with the GraphQL API just only for the certified vulnerability thing, and I got it also embedded it into our policy engine. So I mean it's a work in progress, but maybe at the next meeting, if you're interested, we can, I can show you.
Awesome. Our next meeting will be super cool then. All right.
I'll post you a link to the live, but it's like a personal project at the moment, so don't expect much.
It's cool. It's written in Rust as well.
But it can work against the in-memory with testing data. That's all I tried so far. So that's why I'm trying to try to bring CycloneDX stuff on, so that maybe next step would be to use it with some actual data. So let's see.
It's good using the in-memory because that's kind of what we're focusing on now. So Cool. I will sign you up for next time. So. Cool. Anything else around? If not, we can keep this short, and I guess we'll get half an hour back. So.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Later.
Thanks, Nathan, for the cool demo.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.